Hey, Watermark Church, one of the family values that we cherish here at Watermark is process. What does that mean? It means that we are a safe place to be in process, for you to have your own ideas, own thoughts, and to be able to dialogue about them, to be accepted for where you're at and encouraged as you make your journey with God to make wise and loving decisions. And so we want a place where everybody gets to go at their own pace and they're safe to be in process.
Right. Process is really a value driven by grace. And it's towards that end, that family value, that we want to talk about masks today. It's one of the biggest questions on everyone's minds. And recently we had the privilege of sitting with our leaders over a Zoom call, about 30 people plus. And it was very clear after we announced our details for our outdoor back deck gathering on June 7th, Sunday, June 7th, that masks is one of the most pressing issues on people's hearts. And one of our sweet friends even quipped at one point, who is very sensitive around people wearing them, for those, speaking of those who don't really care to wear them right now, she just kind of quipped, I wish they would just get over themselves, And while we understand that sentiment, one of the thoughts that came to mind as I thought about this leader's feeling was that everyone's going through something. That's where the process value comes from. It gives everyone the benefit of the doubt that they are uniquely going through something. Whether you are pro-maskers or anti-maskers, whatever camp you're in, something in between, both sides are going through something. They are wrestling through the emotions. They are maybe wrestling through fear. They are maybe wrestling through anger of freedoms being girded too tightly. All of these things are real for each person to themselves. So the very first thing we want to tell you about this family value of process is that this is not the season to treat things as overly simplistic or basic or obvious or simple. If there's anything pandemic has taught us and quarantine has taught us, it's that human beings and their feelings and emotions are highly complex. So we want to extend that grace to everyone. There's a couple questions I want to walk you through as we outline our idea for masks, which, by the way, is highly encouraged. It's encouraged in your daily life, but definitely for the service on the Sabbath. We encourage you. We are not police, so we're not going to say mandate or lay down law, but we are going to encourage you to wear them. And this whole video is going to outline why, the why behind we believe that is a loving thing to do and a loving policy. And the first question that I want to pose to you is this. If we really want to look at these two camps who are struggling for masks, against masks, who is it that has the easier argument to lay down, to give up, to give in, and to give grace? Well, we want to submit to you, even though we have our own personal ideas of what it's felt like to wear these masks for so long, we want to submit to you that it's possibly easier for those who don't want to wear them anymore to lay that down at the expense of someone else. And I want to define them in two ways. In one way, maybe they have incredible fear around themselves getting sick or their loved ones getting sick. And maybe at the same time, they have such a concern for the fact that, and that's, by the way, what masks are for, is not for themselves getting sick, but protecting others from getting sick. Maybe we can have the grace to support those people who are a little bit more tentative in coming back to church. That's the other point. It may be easier to let down our opinions about wearing the mask for those who have fear and those who are slower to come back to community. And so we believe that's the first question we would ask you to wrestle with if you're in that camp. Man, I don't want to wear one anymore. The second question is also very important to wrestle through, and that is, do the masks do something? Bucky, I don't know about you, but I've watched so many news headlines, so many social media posts, so much marketing around what do masks really do. I've seen the same video post from Fauci, who's this, the president's right-hand man, the right-hand scientist, make pro and anti comments about masks and what they do. There's so much information and misinformation, you guys. But if we can come around agreement around one simple phrase, that the masks do something, what if they even do 1% of what they say they do? Then wouldn't it maybe be worth it to wear them for those who are really concerned about themselves or their families? So what I'm trying to do in this exercise is come to agreement. Where are the areas where we agree more than we disagree? And then after that fact, you guys, there's one sentence, there's really one statement as we wind down this video on masks. And why is Watermark encouraging masks? Definitely for our in-person service that begins June 7th. And I want to be so candid with you. You see, as we started to pray and seek God around opening church for the 7th, my mind, Bucky, was that it would be for the free-for-all people. The people that would come in person, they're not vulnerable, they're not worried. As Dan Reeland, one of our favorite leaders, said, they're runners. They're runners back to church. Dan Reeland says there's runners, there's walkers, and there's those who are going to sit on the sidelines for even longer.
Right.
And I was just thinking about the runners. I was thinking, we'll open the doors, and the parties will take care of themselves. The runners will be there, the walkers won't be, and that's okay. We're going to love them online. We're going to love them at home. But what we realized at this leader meeting, you guys, is that we need to do a little bit more for the walkers. We need to do all that we can to welcome them. And I just wrote this down. I want to read it to you because it's an admission. It's an honest admission to you, but it's also an encouragement for all of us around this policy. You see, my honest bias, my thought was that in-person services would sort the interested parties from the tentative parties. And again, the truth was way more complex. It turns out that everyone earnestly wants to come, and masks, listen to this part, and masks just might be the welcoming mat that no one saw coming. You see, for me, I could get through all my personal biases of what I think about masks, but for right now, I'm thinking about my church family. I'm thinking about the people who are sick or who are very vulnerable to becoming sick because they're compromised immune systems. And they asked us, there were leaders that asked us on that call, what will you do to accommodate me as one of the quote unquote walkers? And my heart was broken and pierced right to the core that we want to, as the leaders of Watermark, we want to create a space that creates everyone into the safe runners, walkers, whoever they are, to coming in person when God is leading them. And we took a survey, just so you know, this is mathematically proven. We did a survey of everyone at church. And 50% said they were the runners. They were just ready no matter what, they were going to come. And there was another 20%. We could improve that number from 50 to 70% if we would just use guidelines like masks. And then more of our friends, your friends from Watermark, would be there if we were sure to do so. And that's what we're fighting for. And this whole conversation, guys, is to move from 50 to 70. And we just want to say as we wind down this video, we get it. Again, I'll just speak to the anti-maskers for a second. You wouldn't even call yourself that, but just bear with me for a minute. You're probably sick of all of the misinformation, the marketing, the fake news, the bad science. Guess what, you guys? And maybe even the loss of freedom. Guess what, you guys? We hope that this entire video lays out a complex argument for love and grace for those that we want to join again in person. And finally, I think we would just say to those who are not going to make it, regardless of what we do, masks or not, we love you. We will never shame you or guilt you or judge you for being in your process. That's the big idea for this video and this message today. And so whether you're online or you're in person, we love you all the same. And we're here. We're committed to being in process with you.
Yeah, so our excitement and encouragement is for everyone to come back to church. And if you want to run back to church like I want to run back to church, the encouragement is to run back to love. Come back to church with enthusiasm, but put a mask on in order to love your neighbor. Welcome those who feel a little tenement. Welcome the walkers back to church and create a great place for everyone to worship. Thanks for listening to us. We're very encouraged by your love. We can't wait to gather again.
That's right. Thanks, you guys.